Hey folks, we got to talk about the most underrated commodity in the market today and why the market opportunity that exists in the realm of small caps and junior explorers is becoming ever and ever more prevalent because the market is just not picking up on it. I mean, we're talking about copper now hitting another all-time high price here, trading at $5.61 per pound. This is driven not only by AI, but obviously the renewable future because this is the electrified metal of tomorrow. Forget like battery metals and all this other stuff. Copper is literally used in everything. I think it's what, 3 or 4 times the amount in an EV over an ICE vehicle. You're talking about the traditional electricity system that's going to need to be upgraded, let alone chips and everything else that is utilizing copper, right? Like all of this is formulating to continue to have a supply and demand mix up. And a lot of governments and countries are actually leaning into a lot of these projects right now to try and bring them to production. And one of those that we're going to discuss here is Kutcho Copper Corp, trading on the TSXV under KC. It also trades on the OTCQX under KCCFF. And this company is a very small cap, but with the underlying assets continuing to expand in value, we need to break this down and discuss it a lot more in depthly. So if you're on a path to financial independence, if one day you want to retire early, join me on that journey by hitting that subscribe button, folks, because Kutcho Copper is sponsoring this video. I'm leaving all the disclaimers down in the description below. Obviously, this does not constitute financial advice. These are purely opinions of my own, but I do find this relatively intriguing because, again, when it comes to the junior space, the market just seems to be missing this massive opportunity. Currently, this company is sitting on about 22.8 million tons of measured and inferred copper, grading at 2.3% copper equivalent there. But they also have access to silver, gold, zinc, some other metals in there that aren't nearly as prevalent. This is primarily going to be a copper project, but even with the other metals that are expanding so dramatically in price, again, it's just raising the value of this. Like every day, copper goes up. Currently, the after-tax NPV sits around $536 million. But if we dive just a little bit deeper into this, what we're going to find is that at an IRR of basically $5 copper price there, you're talking about a 42.3%, right? IRR. That's $839 million, which is quite intensive as we head toward this billion-dollar valuation that this project actually has under its belt if copper keeps maintaining and heads toward that $6 price point. So again, if you're not looking at copper projects, guys, you're missing one of probably the biggest commodity gold rushes, currently happening outside of the primary precious metals. And I'm shocked. I'm just absolutely blown away by what that means for the valuations. Because again, Kucho's currently trading at only a $32 million valuation, right? And it's, basically located in British Columbia, northern British Columbia. And what's so great about this is that basically the government is, again, most governments around the world right now are investing into this infrastructure. We can see that Canada's critical minerals strategy is about 1.5 billion for infrastructure development, which includes off-grid mining operations through the range of investments, expanding existing energy network capacity, and basically building out like hydroelectricity generation and transmission lines. But basically, Kutcho is engaged in discussions with the federal and provincial governments regarding the potential extensions of existing transmission lines toward its projects. And you can see kind of where they're located in the midst of some of these other projects going on within the area. And what's even better about this is it's heavily de-risked, unlike many projects out there, thanks to wheat and precious metals that provided $100 million in financing packages. The finance package with US 15.8 million towards project acquisitions, 10.5 million in equity participation, 7 million provided to fund feasibility study, and 58 million for development capital. And basically, the ongoing payment cash is equal to about 20% of the applicable spot price, and only 9.7% of the project revenue is connected to the stream. So even with the royalty side of this, it's still a fairly insignificant amount of the totality revenue that this thing is going to have, possible to generate ahead of it. And you can kind of take a look here. You can see 65% copper, 23% zinc, 6% silver, and 6% gold, basically. But if we dive just a little bit farther, it's a clear path to basically production. Unlike many other countries out there, Canada is an extremely mining-friendly jurisdiction. You're talking about high-grade copper, zinc. The infrastructure's there, the permitting, again, the transparent and prescribed process, support of First Nations, local stakeholders, and government, subject only to the British Columbian Environmental Assessment Review process. And I want to focus on this a little bit more here because when it comes to the actual underlying management, what kind of blew me away was what they have on their board of directors. I mean, they've got the A team essentially. If you take a look first and foremost at the CEO and Chief Operation Officer, the CEO has, Vince Soros has over 30 years of experience in capital markets. He's raised over 300 million in equity and debt financing, and he's been the chairman of other, boards related to the mining and resource sector. The CEO has 35 years of experience in mine design, construction, operational mine planning, mine management, leadership in the precious metal and base metal industries. And you can kind of take a deeper look at the rest of the management team. Again, all very experienced, people out there. But even the board of directors and the advisory board, look at like Bill Bennett. He's a former BC government MLA for 16 years, and he was named the mines minister 3 times. This guy's used to moving legislation across the board, has led improvements to BC's Ministry of Energy and Mine permitting process. He's helped launch BC's First Nations mine revenue sharing program. A lot of experience kind of coming under this project, which is no surprise. I mean, it's a highly, highly attractive project. So for them to be bringing in these people, I mean, with the value expectations here and the mining friendly jurisdiction they sit in, I think this is a clear check mark for many of these experienced miners and investors to be like, hey, and with the backing of Wheaton to say, like, this is, so de-risked, so thumbs up across the board. Again, obviously, this is a small cap company, which comes with a lot more volatility. There's always market risk that exists out there, but the supply and demand, I think, is going to remain strong moving forward for the copper prices, which should continue to instill investor confidence. Obviously, these are just opinions of my own, but I really enjoy this sector right now. And I think it's something that a lot of investors should be paying attention to. And I'll pass the question off to you. I'd love to know what you think about Kutcho Copper in that comment section below. And consider subscribing for News Catalyst as it comes down the wire. I will bring it to you here. But on that, as always, I look forward to catching you in the next one.